Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to understanding the most captivating topic. Today, we're plunging into something that, well, it's shaped pretty much every human heart, every culture, every story, every love. When you hear falling in love, what comes? Is it that familiar rush, butterflies, seeing falling, that initial excitement that just feels like, well, magic or destiny? It's definitely powerful, transformative, captivated us forever. But what if that familiar picture of our idea of just falling? Our source dive, they suggest something radical, right? What if love isn't just fleeting emotion, stumble into something that actually demands a conscious decision, active effort?
It's a huge challenge to how we usually think about it as all those romantic notions. One source we looked at uses this really powerful metaphor. It says, the moment that you fall in love with the petals of a flower and not the root, as wintertime comes and goes, so will your love. It really hits home that idea that what attracts you initially, purely based on emotion, well, it often won't be enough. It won't keep you there when things get tough.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack. Our mission today is to go beyond those first sparks. We want to explore the true nature of love as, well, an art and a choice. We'll look at the philosophy behind it, the psychology, and that crucial, often missed part about effort, commitment. We're giving you a shortcut to understanding maybe challenging love. So let's go back to that exciting, almost intoxicating, feel this like sod of, and it moves us, spill evergrets, our trauma, incredibly potent. But like our sources ask, what happens when that excitement was gone and the knots start to unravel? When the things that drew us together maybe become pure emotion enough?
That's the core question, really. And the key insight seems to be that true love, well, at bare minimum, halfway has to be met with a decision. It has to be met with commitment. And this isn't just about committing to the other person, interestingly. The fundamental choice in love, it often doesn't start with the other person, but starts with me and is complemented by you. It's this active internal thing, a continuous resolve.
Oh, that's a crucial distinction. It's not just a feeling, it's an ongoing choice. So when the source talks about really saying, I love you, it means through every argument and every heartache and headache. It means through the growing pains of a newfound love. It implies this steadfast, not just when things are easy.
Exactly. And going back to that powerful roots metaphor, it's about saying, when wintertime comes, I will protect every petal. I will fall in love with your roots, who you are, why you are, and what makes you smile and what makes you cry. This perspective really insists that real love, genuine love, will not be seasonal. It will not be conditional. It's about embracing the whole person, not just the pretty surface or the good times. It's a deep commitment to all of who they are.
That vision of love is, wow, it's powerful, but it also feels incredibly complex. I mean, falling in love itself is this strange mix, isn't it? Familiarity and novelty all at once can leave you spellbound. How do we even start to understand something so multifaceted? Where do we look for its deeper root? Philosophically, psychologically?
Yeah, and this is where looking back, even to ancient wisdom can offer so much. Philosophy gives us a really rich starting point. If you think about Plato in his Symposium, he saw love, eros, not just as a simple attraction, as a pursuit of beauty and goodness, like a ladder, he said. Something that can take you from just physical attraction right up to contemplating the divine. The key thing for our discussion here is that it's an active climb, a conscious choice to pursue higher ideal. It's this yearning maybe for qualities we feel we lack, or that just fast. It's definitely an intentional movement, not just passively.
So Plato's ladder isn't just a nice image. It actually frames love towards something higher. And then you've got Aristotle, right? In Encomium, he shifts the focus. He saw love more as the highest friendship, based on really the other person, and it fosters moral development. It's not just about what you gain, but how you both grow together. Now, of course, other thinkers ship life almost biological. Kierkegaard talked faith, love, and Sartre saw it as this constant struggle, even a challenge. What do all these different clash about that?
Well, what they collectively suggest, I think, is that even when love feels like this overwhelming force, it nearly always involves some element of will or decision. Schopenhauer, for instance, implies this powerful, maybe unconscious drive, but even then you have to choose to act on.
Right.
Kierkegaard's leap of faith, well, that's by definition a conscious decision, even with uncertainty. And Sartre's struggle highlights that even in conflict, you are choosing to engage or maybe to disengage. These aren't passive experiences at all. They're deeply active engagements with life itself.
That's a really helpful way to bring those together. So these big philosophical ideas give us a framework. But how does our mind actually process all these impulses, these choices? How does it play out in our, everyday psychology?
A really critical piece here is attachment theory, developed by Bowlby and Ainsworth. This theory helps us understand how early relationships with caregivers shape later romantic bonds. It's fascinating. Basically, the security or maybe insecurity you felt as a child often creates patterns. It means we often unconsciously seek partners that mirror those past dynamics, whether they were good or bad. Just recognizing those patterns is a huge step towards making more conscious choices in who we love and how.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. Carl Jung's concept of projection, he suggested we carry this inner ideal, the subconscious image of our perfect partner, the anima for men, animus for women. So when we first fall in love, we often project this inner ideal onto the other person. We're kind of overlaying our own unconscious desires, maybe fears, aspirations onto them. The deep insight here is realizing that initial spark might actually be more about our own internal world than the reality of the other, which means, again, a conscious choice to love who they actually are, beyond our projection.
Precisely. And clinical psychologists have also identified these distinct stages of romantic relationships. We usually move from that initial infatuation or limerence, that intense, often overwhelming rush, intense longing, excitement, where we might idealize the other person almost obsessively. We move from that towards more stable forms of attachment, things characterized by comfort, commitment, emotional security, and of course, social psychology points to things like proximity, similarity of interests, reciprocal liking, and social context. Those all play a big role in who we're drawn to initially. Understanding these stages helps us realize that the initial high, it isn't meant to last forever. Something deeper, a more committed love has to evolve from it.
For all the talk about falling, what really stands out to me from all this is that the deepest challenge in love isn't that initial plunge. It's learning how patient enough to navigate all the ups and flows that inevitably come. It's really that commitment to the art of love, not just the feeling.
Which raises a really important question. What does patience actually mean in love? Erich Fromm, in his classic work, The Art of Love, argues that authentic love requires effort, humility, and discipline. And patience in this context, it isn't just passively waiting around. It's an active stance of allowing love to evolve, even through uncertainty, frustration, maybe disappointment. It's this continuous, deliberate engagement with the process.
And our sources really highlight that patience has to begin crucial toward ourselves.
Right.
Means acknowledging our own stuff, our insecurities or old wounds that always seem to surface when we get vulnerable in our life. It's recognizing that growth in love is not a straight line. There will be doubts, even moments of despair, but these can actually be catalysts standing if...
Absolutely. And that patient love also needs to extend profoundly toward the beloved. In that first flush of romance, it's so easy to idealize, to expect our partner to fulfill every single need. But true, mature love involves a willingness to meet the other person where they are, accepting they have their own story, their own pace of growth, their own fears. It means giving space for their humanity, including their imperfection. Now, this isn't about enabling destructive behavior, obviously, but it is about compassionately accepting the whole person, not just the idealized version we might prefer.
This also seems to mean honoring the rhythm of a relationship. Some couples move really swiftly, maybe into living together or marriage. Others take a much slower route, and there's no single right path, is there? As long as it feels authentic and mutually comfortable. Rushing love, on the other hand, can often stem from desperation or manipulation, pushing something that isn't quite real.
So, what does this all mean practically? How do we actually cultivate this vital patience in love? Our sources give us some really practical, actionable strategies here. First, self-reflection, maybe keeping a journal. It can help you identify triggers, recurring patterns, potential blind spots. It helps turn those vague irritations into real insights about your own reaction. Then, mindfulness practice. This allows you to pause before reacting, to just observe your inner storms without getting swept away, and learn to respond with greater clarity instead of just lashing out impulse. Third, nurturing other parts of your life. Friendships, hobbies, your personal sense of purpose. This stops us putting this immense, unrealistic burden on our partner to be our every sole source of happiness. That relieves so much pressure. Fourth, establishing healthy boundaries. This might sound counterintuitive to intimacy, but clearly communicating limits. It actually prevents resentment. It fosters authenticity and respect. And finally, gratitude, just regularly reflecting on the qualities that drew you to your partner in the first, remembering those moments of genuine connection that can build a reservoir of goodwill to draw on, sustaining patience during the tougher times.
Moving beyond the day-to-day, when we talk about love as an art and a choice, it really touches on these core existential themes, doesn't it? It confronts us with both the promise of transcendence and the inevitability of loss. Huge, profound.
It absolutely is. The poet Rilke, he captured this so beautifully. He said, "For one human being to love another, that is perhaps the most difficult of all our tasks."
Yeah.
Difficult, yet also one of the most worthy. Love, in this sense, it can offer a glimpse into the infinite, maybe serving as a gateway between the human and the transcendent. It connects us to something larger than ourselves. It speaks to a deep human striving.
And to connect to something larger, you arguably have to first connect properly with yourself, which brings us right to the foundational importance. As Bell Hooks teaches so powerfully in All About Love, genuine self-love nurtures our capacity to love others. It includes self-respect, self-compassion, and accountability. Without it, we risk these sort of codependent, always looking outside for validation instead of choosing to love from a place of wholeness.
And it's fascinating how cultural perspectives also deeply shape how we understand and practice the whole art of. While Western societies often put romantic love front and center for marriage, many traditional cultures frequently prioritize family or communal consideration. In many Asian contexts, for example, love might be expressed more through harmony, duty within family structure, while some African cultures place a really strong emphasis on time, the broader social fabric. Now, these frameworks don't mean intense up there, but they profoundly guide how we interpret and act. It really shows how that choice of love can look very different depending on the context.
And globalization has really mixed things up, hasn't it? Popular music, film, social media, they share these love stories that cross national boundaries. They create this kind of collective imagination of what love, which sometimes sets really unrealistic expectations. Even things like internet dating apps have totally transformed that initial attraction, which arguably makes the art of patience even more vital. You need time for authentic connection to really know the person beyond the curated profile, beyond our projection.
So true. And love itself is such a powerful force for transformation. It changes our habits, uproots our routines, and forces us to confront our limitations. For instance, getting into a deep relationship might suddenly make you keenly aware of, say, latent jealousy or insecurity you didn't even know you had. This transformation, although it's often uncomfortable, challenging, it offers huge opportunities for personal growth. If it's met with that patience and open dialogue we've been talking about, it's this ongoing process of refining yourself.
We also absolutely have to acknowledge love's shadow side. It's so crucial to distinguish genuine, healthy love from those obsessive or controlling forms that can unfortunately lead to really abusive dynamic. This is where emotional intelligence, self-awareness, empathy, they aren't just helpful, they're absolutely critical. Love's energy is incredibly powerful. It demands responsibility because the lines between healthy passion and harmful obsession can blur so easily if we're not conscious.
And this brings us to a really powerful, maybe even stark quote from our sources. Marry someone you can suffer with. It pushes right past the honeymoon phase, past the rooftop bars, the matching outfits, all the superficial stuff. The real test is, who are they when tragedy actually shows up? Who's standing with you when you're crying in the ER at 3 a.m.? Who looks at you in your worst moment and still chooses you? That's the person worth building a life with, the one who makes the bad days bearable, because that choice for each other is just so profound.
Wow. Given all of this, it's really clear that not all experiences of falling in love are going to lead to lifelong partnership. That's just reality. So when a connection does end, what happens then? How do we navigate that profound?
Navigating heartbreak is incredibly tough. It often feels like a complete personal devastation. But our sources, interestingly, call it a potent teacher. It's a chance to maybe reimagine one's identity, refine your value, understand more deeply what you truly need and desire in love. And patience is crucial here too, for allowing yourself time to grieve, to process the loss, and for finding renewal rather than just rushing to numb the pain or jump into something else. Heartbreak, though it's agonizing, it can actually transform into a renewed openness to love. This time, maybe with more wisdom, a clearer sense of self.
Okay, so let's say you found that connection, the one you choose to build. Maintaining that love over time, that's a different kind of art. What does that ongoing cultivation require?
It definitely requires adaptability, especially as life changes and you both grow and evolve. And, absolutely critically, continuous communication. This means really engaging in meaningful, vulnerable conversations about emotional states, needs, shared vision, not just, casual check-ins about groceries. It also demands a careful balance of intimacy and independence, allowing space for individual growth while still cultivating shared experiences. And importantly, celebration through small rituals, acknowledging each other's achievements, things that keep the love feeling fresh and well-chosen daily.
And of course, there are those common pitfalls that can challenge even the most committed relationships. What should we be mindful of there?
Oh, definitely. There are several common ones. Jealousy, for instance. It often reveals deeper fears, maybe abandonment or insecurity within oneself. Then there's fear of vulnerability. This can show up as guardedness, defensiveness. It requires taking gradual, courageous risks to build deeper trust over time. Unrealistic expectations are huge, often fueled by those cultural myths of effortless bliss. They frequently lead to disappointment, so adjusting them to reality is vital. And then persistent communication breakdown. Simple techniques like paraphrasing what the other person has said just to confirm you understood. They can prevent so many arguments from spiraling. They make sure both partners actually feel heard.
A really vital part of navigating those pitfalls, especially after a conflict, must be forgiveness. It's about releasing the festering resentment that poisons our own heart, that tendency to hold on to grudge. It doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but it frees us from the burden of carrying that anger. And equally important, maybe even more so sometimes, is self-forgiveness. When we mess up in love, taking responsibility and showing through our actions that we've learned and grown.
And finally, we kind of encounter this fascinating paradox, love and personal freedom. How can love, which often feels like a surrender in some ways, also enhance our freedom? In healthy, mature love, freedom is actually enhanced. A supportive partner values your autonomy, your growth. They allow each person to flourish, to pursue their own dreams without constraint. And patience is key here again, enabling us to adapt to those shifts in identity over time. Welcoming growth rather than feeling threatened by change becomes this co-created space where both individuals are actually more free, not less.
Wow, what a journey we've taken today. It feels so clear now that falling in love, that initial spark, it's truly only one beautiful step along this vast path, luminous, sometimes dizzying moment, but it leads us into these much deeper disciplines.
That's beautifully put. What stands out most to me, reflecting on all, is that love isn't some fixed state we arrive at or a destination. It's a practice, an ongoing dialogue with life. It evolves and refines itself through every joy, every challenge, every act of patience. It's this continuous, deliberate process of becoming, both as individuals and together.
And as you, listening, reflect on your own journey with love, maybe you're eagerly awaiting new love, maybe you're mending a broken heart, or perhaps nurturing a long-standing relationship. Remember this, falling in love is indeed a beautiful, almost accidental collision of chemistry and time. But sustaining and growing that love, that is a profound art. It's an art learned in those moments of vulnerability, in shared laughter, in quiet forgiveness, in the enthusiastic support for each other's dreams, and above all, perhaps, in the steadfast patience that allows love to flourish in its own beautiful, chosen and cultivated year after year. Embrace this journey of learning.